Hey guys, Noel here, and it's Wednesday, and I actually have the rest of the day to myself, so I thought it would be fun to do a video for the YouTube channel. This is going to be something having to do with the video game section, but it's going to be a little bit of a troubleshooting video where I'm describing maybe a common scenario or issue for retro gamers, and at the same time I'm asking for advice. So, without further ado, let's get down to this video. So, as you know, I am a fan of the Commodore 64 1084S monitor, and right here we see it playing Phantasy Star 4 on the Sega Genesis. Now, the Commodore 64 I've been using with Lumichroma cable. That means that this is 1980 style S-video, where rather than having the little pin cable that's really common, there's actually two video jacks, one for your color and one for your light and dark. And with this computer monitor, which has very nice resolution, you get a very nice picture out of it. But this is something that I've always known about this monitor, is that it has a little button here that says RGB. There's on the top it says CVBS, and on the bottom it says RGB. Now, I'm not a huge computer technician or anything like that. To access RGB from my retro video game consoles to get kind of like the raw native video output as clean as possible, I use SCART cables, and I don't have any CRT capacity to do RGB. So when I saw that this monitor here had RGB capabilities, I got interested. And I looked into it a little bit, and on the back of the monitor, there are two ports that are called DIN ports, which are, if you look on the back of your old school Sega Genesis or your Neo Geo, you'll see, little circular ports for things like this to stick into. This is a 5-pin DIN. I basically got a SCART to 6-pin cable that I got off the internet, because on the back of the Commodore 64 monitor, which I'm not going to turn around because it's pretty cumbersome to turn around, and I have the N64 in front of it, there is a little port. There's two DIN ports. One is apparently for an analog RGB signal, and the other one is for something that is supposed to be hooked up to another kind of computer that is not really used for connecting RGB to video game consoles. And my understanding is the 6-pin DIN is what's supposed to be used for connecting your RGB retro gaming needs to this, computer monitor here. So I got a 6-pin SCART, a 6-pin DIN to SCART cable, and I got one of these boxes right here, which is basically a SCART selector box, which, if you look at it here, I don't know how well you can see this, there is a slot for this monitor here. This is the SCART cable that's going from the Commodore 64 1084S to the SCART selector switch, and then going into the SCART selector switch is the Sega Genesis. There's the Sega SCART cable. Okay. So, what's the issue? So, again, I'm not a big computer technician, so I'm not sure exactly how the mechanics of this are functioning. Right now, this is Sega Genesis running on a composite picture on this monitor. Here's what happens when I turn this to the RGB. You get a picture that looks like this. I can tell it's very clear, but there's a massive amount of diagonal scrolling, and it's only in a green color. And I've done some looking into this online, and I know there are people that are making their own and soldering their own SCART cables, and there may be something wrong with this monitor. I know that the RGB is supposed to stand for red, blue, and green, and I'm only seeing green. So I don't know if there's something internally wrong with the RGB capabilities of this monitor. I don't know if there's something that I need to do to a SCART cable to get this to display properly so it's not rolling diagonal. I know that, there's all kinds of, sync and grounding and all other kinds of jargon that goes with RGB setups with these older monitors that I'm not going to pretend that I actually understand. But all I know is with my 6-pin DIN to SCART cable going into this selector box, I'm getting this picture, which is, not usable. The composite works fine. The Lumichroma S Video works fine. But the SCART is not working, and it's not just with the Sega Genesis. I've also tried hooking up the PlayStation in this manner, and it's not working. I've also tried to use this SCART coupler, and try to see if there's anything wrong with this box here, and I get the same issue with a green out of sync picture. So if anyone has any advice or can direct me to someone who actually has a kind of SCART cable that I can use to actually play my retro games on this, that would be great. I have no real desire or knowledge about how to, open up a SCART cable and start soldering stuff and, screwing around with stuff for hours. So that's that, guys. This is just kind of a cry for help and kind of a troubleshooting video. If anyone else there is having similar issues that I'm having, you're not alone. So hit me up. Let me know if you have any advice or can tell me what's going on here. Until next time, guys, my name is Noel. I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.